The Last Clue is a production of Smith Media Team, LLC. Listener discretion advised, mostly because of me. So we're back, and first off the bat, I have to thank everyone for, we have to thank everyone, not me, you two, for the overwhelming response to our podcast on Valeria Marquez, the influencer that was gunned down on a live feed. We have not received a response like that in the brief time that we've been podcasting. And I say brief is a relative term, but we have not received a response like that.
It was really overwhelming.
I was very surprised at the attention that got. So I want to thank each and every one of our listeners for making that probably one of our Mount Rushmore of
Yes,
podcasts thus
thank
far.
you. It's been amazing and keeps us going. The support is greatly appreciated, more than you could possibly know. So yes, thank you.
Okay, and now I need to take a detour here real quick.
Okay.
So we're late to the party. We spend a lot of we have day jobs, but first and foremost, this is not our means of income, or
I'd like it to be.
we we don't just sit around and podcast for 18 hours a day and then get a full 8 hours of sleep and then turn around and get up and podcast again. We have jobs, and we're clearly behind on the times because we just began the Fred and Rose West documentary on Netflix.
Ugh.
And I think that might have been the quietest the two of us have ever. We sit on a three-person couch. We do that while we podcast. We do that when we watch sports or watch true crime docs or whatever. So we're not sitting in a palatial atrium of 6,000 square feet. We're sitting in our small game room, and we decided to go down the rabbit hole of the Fred and Rose West documentary on Netflix, and I'm still not sure if I completely comprehend what I have seen so far, and we are just over an episode into it. We had to stop in the second episode.
It's mentally draining. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I know, like you said, we have day jobs, but there are tedious hours, days, minutes spent researching every single case that we discuss. So when when that's done, it can be mentally and emotionally draining, exhausting. That episode and a half was very similar.
We're not even
I
halfway through
know,
that
I
episode. We made
know.
it about 10 minutes and said, "Okay, I've got to have a
I need a
break."
break.
That
It's
is.
it's a lot to digest.
And please don't. We appreciate all the comments and everything. Please don't ruin it for us, because we have some. There are days that we have very little in our little lives that we can look forward to.
Yeah, we don't really go out. We don't hang out with people. We don't socialize much. So yeah, please don't ruin it for us.
I mean, I, we've had conversations since then, so we kind of feel like we know where this is heading. But and I made I made a joke that turned out to be true, so we kind of want to keep that under wraps until we can at least get to it. So please, if you would, please comment on the podcast all you want on any platform that you listen to. We're on all the major platforms, but please don't ruin it for us. That's all we ask. We like to see we like to see justice prevail in the end. We just don't want it ruined for us.
Yeah, I want to be surprised. But not that there's a surprise. There's a whole ton of research I could do, but I'm going into this one blind. Let me leave it at that.
Yeah, I did not know anything about this one, so yes, I'm going completely blind into this. So anyway, we appreciate all of our listeners. Thank you so much for being a part of this stupid, hokey little podcast that we do.
And
Trying
please
to,
keep interacting with us.
we're just trying to shed light. That's all we're trying to do at the end of the day is try to shed light for the families out there without answers. Um, that being said, I would like to give a big thank you to some people that we don't know. um, I would like to thank Oklahoma Cold Cases, oklahomacoldcases.org. We rolled up on a story that neither one of us knew much, if anything, about. And to give you a little bit of background, and I'm not going to go into huge detail, I'm a native Oklahoman.
I am not.
I was born and raised here. We are. I, I am back here now, and you are here now. Um, so I do remember quite a few stories because the news in the 80s was kind of a staple. You watch the news, then you watch MASH, and then you went to bed. That's kind of what being an 80s kid at the time without cell phones or internet, that's kind of what everything was about. But I do want to thank oklahomacoldcases.org for bringing the story to light about Melissa Ann Moore from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Melissa went missing in March of 1984, late March. 22-year-old young lady. She had gone out with friends the previous night on the 25th. And she decided they were on the campus of the University of Tulsa.
She was a sorority girl, right?
Yes, Omega Sorority House. And she left that house saying that she was heading to her apartment a few blocks away. And unfortunately, in a lot of the cases that we talk about on this podcast, she never made it home. Her car was found later, and there's a witness that said that they saw a male park the car there, that he sat in the vehicle for a few minutes before he got out, locked the door, walked off around 4:30 on the same day that Miss Moore had gone missing.
Now, I do believe she went by Lisa.
Okay.
Just throwing that in there as we refer to Lisa. Please know that it's the same case. Melissa Moore went by Lisa.
So nearly a month later, on April 17th, her body was discovered in Mays County by some workers doing inspections in the area. Not uncommon to the cases that we cover when a young woman is involved. She was naked from the waist down, and she was in the water at Pryor Creek.
Okay. So that was in Pryor, and she went missing from
Pryor Creek.
Pryor Creek was. So how far is that from where she was last seen in the Tulsa area?
It's in proximity.
Okay, it's in proximity. And from what I understand, it was like Department of Transportation workers that found her. So like authority type people. So I would assume that this was reported pretty quickly. And from what I read in my research, I heard you say that she was found with just her blouse on and nude from the waist down, but she also had a ring on her finger.
Mm-hmm.
which just goes to show that robbery was likely not a motive if the ring was still there.
So the authorities determined that she had drowned and was likely sexually assaulted. There were, at the onset, there were very few clues for the authorities to um, go on. Of course, we have the witness accounts of the male in the car, but there were also witnesses describing a suspicious man on the bridge where Melissa was discovered. And he drove a fairly, I would say, a fairly common vehicle for 1984.
Yes, um, it was described as either a small truck or El Camino.
Which an El Camino is a small truck.
Yes. Um,
But that had never been publicly identified at the time.
the one thing that we can determine is weren't her keys found elsewhere after said male was seen in her vehicle, leaving her vehicle, parking her vehicle?
They were they were found in a small puddle of water, I believe, as the story goes. The keys were found away from the vehicle in a small, I hesitate to say body of water, a small puddle, creek, something, but they were found away from the vehicle in a small area of water.
So somebody tried to ditch those if they were found away from the car. Obviously, if they were in the car and she was not, they had to have thrown them somewhere. So we've got somebody trying to hide something.
Now, early on in this investigation, summer of 1984, so only a few months, um, a name that many still know around the state of Oklahoma, Gary Allen Walker, became a suspect in this murder. Now, a little bit about the peach that is Gary Allen Walker. He was also known as Gary Edwards, and he's no longer with us because he was executed by lethal injection in the state of Oklahoma in January of 2000. He was found guilty of multiple murders. One of the names that will probably pop out to a lot of native Oklahomans is Valerie Shaw Hartzell. She was a Tulsa radio reporter. She was kidnapped and raped by Gary Walker, but he had a astonishing list of convictions that led to his execution. Now, that being said, he was cleared in the case of Melissa Ann Moore.
Okay, so we've still got somebody out there potentially um, that is responsible for Lisa's death or has passed on some information, and somebody knows somebody's there's that somebody out there. Somebody's got our last clue to help bring justice to this case. This El Camino and male, in comments that I've read, her neighbor drove an El Camino, and from what I understand, was never fully questioned in the case. So,
Questioned or cleared?
from my research, both.
Okay. This is probably the right and wrong time to mention this. But if you do have any information about the murder of Melissa Ann Moore, you are encouraged to call the Tulsa Police Department at 918 596 9222. That is the Tulsa Police Department, 918 596 9222. Now, you probably heard my partner in crime with a small giggle. We reached out to the Tulsa Police Department on multiple occasions. And we did that for two reasons. One, to do our due diligence on this podcast. We want to make sure that we have everything as factually correct as we possibly can. That's every show that we do. But two, in 2010, an old OSBI agent came forward and told the media that there was DNA in Lisa's case that had been linked to a suspect that was known to the Tulsa Police Department.
Oh.
Now, I'm going to take a quick pause here. We reached out to the Tulsa Police Department on multiple occasions. We reached out to two officials directly, and we reached out to the Public Information Office, and we received no response. On the other side of that, we also reached out to the OSBI.
Yes.
The OSBI gave us a fairly quick but concise response that said that case is being handled by the Tulsa Police Department.
Yes.
So insert meme of chasing your tail here. But the OSBI, to their credit, they did respond and say that is the Tulsa Police Department's case.
Yes.
The Tulsa Police Department, as of this recording, has not responded to any of our inquiries in the case of Melissa Ann Moore. So I just want to make sure that we are covered on this. I don't know why they didn't respond, but if these reports are true, that the OSBI went to the Tulsa Police Department and said, we have DNA from this case, and it's a known suspect, then this case should have been closed 15 years ago.
Absolutely. And I don't understand why it is still ongoing, especially since back then they didn't have the DNA capabilities that we do now. So now they're bringing forth some new information to help solve this case, and they're saying,
So the agent that brought forth this information worked for the OSBI cold case unit and had offered to assist in the Melissa Ann Moore case to get the DNA testing done quicker by utilizing the cold case department.
That's great.
Well, about that.
Oh.
The agent that he approached refused.
Oh.
Said, I don't need your help.
Oh.
And I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Sure.
So, basically, we've got a sword fight. Mine's bigger than yours. I know you've got information, and I know you've got DNA evidence, and I know you've got this, and I know you've got that. But we don't have enough to charge him. So go fuck yourself. That's basically the story here, that OSBI said, hey, we can help you. And it sounds like to me, Tulsa Police Department said, we don't need your help. Now, I would be careful.
Sure.
If I were the Tulsa Police Department, I would be careful telling a state-run agency that says we can help you solve this case to go to hell and how quick to get there. But apparently, that is the way the Tulsa Police Department has chosen to handle the Melissa Ann Moore case. Is they've said, no, we don't have enough to charge, so we're not going to do anything. We asked the simple question of the Tulsa Police Department, is this still an active case? And can't get an answer out of them.
Crickets.
They're too busy filming TV shows, Live PD or Cops Tulsa or whatever. They're too busy to solve a case. This brings me back. This is where I'm going to get heated. This brings me back to a podcast we did a long time ago about Karen Silkwood.
Yes.
Karen Silkwood is one of the most infamous murders in Oklahoma history. And I'm going to say that with my chest out, because if you guys want to jump in the comments and tell me I'm wrong, that's fine. I've been told I'm wrong all my life. The Karen Silkwood murder is one of the biggest unsolved murders in the state of Oklahoma, and I'll plant my flag in the ground on that. Now, if you go back and watch the Hulu documentary about Karen Silkwood and listen, which sometimes that's hard.
True.
But if you listen, that case has been solved. And yet, we have no answers in that case. Same with Melissa Ann Moore. You've got somebody that is saying we can help. You've got a state agency that says we can help you solve this case. And my question is, I was very focused on the keys. Were the keys tested for DNA? Is this what OSBI has? They said, hey, there's DNA on the keys.
Here's the name.
We can link this. That's my question, is if the keys were put in a body of water doesn't give a damn about washing off DNA. So they found the keys. Have the keys been tested for DNA? Is that what the OSBI has? The OSBI, they can't answer because it's the Tulsa Police Department's case. The Tulsa Police Department refuses to answer anything because they can't respond to a simple email.
For more people that want to help. They literally had OSBI hand them this and say, DNA, here's a name, known suspect, to Tulsa Police Department. We can get DNA and we can get more of this done quicker for you. We can solve this cold case. Let's take it off your plate.
And here's the speed from what I've seen in this case. And I want to give all respect to law enforcement.
Absolutely.
I understand that job can be daunting. But in this case, it looks like the Tulsa Police Department is moving at the speed of smell on this case, to me, because in the same article, in the same research that we put in 2011, by the way, folks, it's 2025. We don't have a breaking news sounder, but we're working on it. It's 2025. In 2011, a detective with the Tulsa Police Department wanted to take another look at the Melissa Ann Moore case and submitted new evidence. This is 1984 to 2011. Submitted new evidence for testing. And it's 2025, and we have no arrests in the murder of Melissa Ann Moore. If the murderer's dead, say it. If the murderer's alive, go get him. But God say, don't sit on your hands. There's still family out there.
Yes.
That want answers to this. Not a day goes by. Not a day goes by that they don't wonder, is today going to be the day that I get answers? Once you get answers, a little piece of you has that peace.
It has a little bit of closure. Whether it's the answer you want or not, you know somebody is still working on this And Lisa is not forgotten. She's just not gone by the wayside. And this is just heartbreaking that it doesn't seem that they want to solve this case. And that's what it looks like to me. That is my opinion. And we know what opinions are like, but it's right there in black and white. Here's some help. We're giving it to you on a plate. And the plate is just being smacked out of OSBI's hand. We don't want that.
And the parents are gone.
Yeah.
The parents died with no answers to Lisa's death. She has a brother that is still championing this effort. Why will the Tulsa Police Department not come out and say, we have a suspect, or the information that was brought forth was tested, it didn't come back to anybody? Just close the goddamn case. That's all you have to do. Close the case one way or another. Say, we have new evidence, we tested it, it didn't come up to anybody, the case is still open, or we're closing the cold case. We tested the evidence, it came back to this guy, he's no longer with us, or he lives in Bowlegs, Oklahoma, and we're going to go get him.
Wherever. That was just an example, y'all.
Something. So do something.
Do something.
Don't be complacent when it involves a human being and their life being taken away from them when they barely got a chance to start life. Do the job. This is what you signed up for. We signed up for this as a hobby, and we struggle, but we still get the job done one way or another.
We certainly try. We go elbows deep. We don't just try to scratch the surface. We go elbows deep into this. Why can't the Tulsa Police Department do the same thing for Lisa's family?
Especially when you've got DNA evidence.
Yeah.
It's there. We've got advances. There are grants. There are programs. There are programs out there that will test that for free.
What was it? Porch Light Project? Is that the one? That's one of the ones that helps in solving cold cases with this type of research, the ancestry, DNA, swabbing family members, things like that. So I don't know. Maybe that's some of the help that OSBI had, and Tulsa said, we got Tulsa King going on. Come back later.
Well, and the problem is this. We don't know anything from Tulsa Police Department. No. So have they swabbed the brother to eliminate that DNA? I'm not saying the brother has anything to do with it.
But that's relative DNA.
That's relative DNA, and that's how they have solved other crimes, is getting DNA from brothers, sisters, ancestors, so that they can continue this search.
That's how they solved the Tammy Lowe case in Michigan and Ohio.
Exactly.
So, again, here's a plate of information, but apparently Tulsa's not hungry.
So I'll say it again. If you have any information regarding the murder, and this was a murder, the murder of Melissa Ann Moore, contact the Tulsa Police Department at 918-596-9222. Again, Tulsa Police Department, 918-596-9222. Might be better off sending a carrier pigeon, but it is what it is.
Hopefully they will have better luck than we have, but we want Lisa's brother to know we are not giving up, and we are still going to pursue the last clue to get Lisa's case solved.
The Last Clue is a production of Smith Media Team, LLC. If you or anyone you know have any information about this case, have suggestions about a case we need to cover, or general comments about The Last Clue, please email info@smithmediateamllc.com.